So it says here I should create a script tag that would be linked to an external JavaScript file. So we already have that, and we are linking it to my index.js. Now the next thing says we should enhance the person object by adding additional properties. We should implement method for updating. We should create a simple HTML form in that allows users to update the person object properties. Then use JavaScript to handle form submission. Okay, so it says here we should enhance the person object by adding additional properties. So this means that we'll be needing a person object. So we would say let person be equal to an object that would have a name of, let's say, John. Then we would have age of 30 and city that would be Lagos. Then we would have our introduce function, which we can leave out for now. So it says we should add additional properties such as email. So to add an email to this, I would say person.email is equal to example.com. So if I say console.log person, you would see that it would contain the email attribute that I've just added. So I can also add other properties such as phone and interests. So this would be a phone number of 08000. Then interest, let's say interest is going to be an array of hobbies. So this is going to be an array. So I can say biking, um, and I can also say gaming. So we can see here that I have my interests array as well, which contains biking and gaming, and I have the phone number here. So I have already enhanced the person object by adding additional properties. Now it says we should implement methods for updating and displaying the additional properties. So I'm going to have
Can I ask a question?
yeah,
Why did you add the email, phone, and the int outside the object?
because that's what the question says. The question said we should enhance the person object. So enhance means that we've already created the person. Now we are trying to enhance the person. We are trying to add more properties to the person. So we are not doing that by simply just adding email here. So we are updating it. So and the way to update object is by adding it outside of the object.
Okay, then. Okay, no problem. Just continue.
So it says we should implement methods for updating and displaying the additional properties. So this is just we would have a function. Um, Let me use an arrow function. So let's say we would have an arrow function called display that will take in the person as a parameter, and we can display the information of that person from this function. So now I can call my display function, and it will do um okay, here it says undefined. So I'm passing in the person and then console.log person. Okay, so I'm supposed to call this with the person actually. Mm, let's see. So my display function is going to display whatever object I pass in here. So let's say let's just assume that I have another object. So this is just for explanation's sake, and this is person one. So if I pass in person one to this, and the name here is Smith instead of John, it will return the second object. And we can see here that it doesn't have the additional properties because I added those properties to just the person object. So if I clear this back, we can see here that I have the additional properties because I am calling the person object which I have added those properties to. So we already have the display function to display the additional properties. Now it says we should write a function for updating those properties as well. So just like I have here, I will be calling the person. Then I can say person dot email is equal to new email.com. Now if I refresh this, we can see that I have the new email as my email, and that's because I am updating it inside of my function. So um, we can we can we can call this function update to help us update that email. So it is still going to work as expected, and you can see here. So we need to call that update function and pass in the person object. So when I refresh this, we can see here that I have the new email, and that's because I have already updated that email from my update um, from my update function. So um, that is this part of the code. Now it says we should create a simple HTML form that allows users to update the person's object properties. Then we should use JavaScript to handle form submission and update the person object accordingly. So we know that in my index.html now, I would need to create a form that would have inputs for my user. Um, so my form input would take in type of text. Then it would also take in, we can have a placeholder here that says name. So let's see the form. So this is the simple form that we have, and I can have a class here that is name as well. So I can create two more forms. So this one could be for email. So the class is going to be email. And finally, let's say this one is something that doesn't even exist in our object. So let's say, for example, height or something like that, just for example's sake. So let's say height. Now we can see that I have three inputs here. So the last thing I would need to add is a button. So my button is going to be of type submit, and it's going to say update object. So I have a simple HTML form here that takes in three inputs, and I have a button update. So you can see that nothing happened when I click my update button. It is simply just refreshing the page. So to make use of this update button and whatever input the user has entered here, I would need to get the input first, then add an event listener for my submit button. So what I'm saying here is, let me just move this up. So what I'm saying is, I would need to firstly access the values that have been imputed into those input fields, which is name, email, and height. So to do this, I can say document dot document dot get element by ID. So let me change this to,
Sorry, before you continue,
yeah,
okay? Before you continue,
yes.
don't you think we should create a constant for the so that we can be able to access it later before you start with document dot get elements by whatever? That there should be a constant that is holding that property. I
Yes,
mean, in yeah,
I get what you're saying. We would,
okay,
yeah, we'll create that. Very good. Yeah.
okay.
So, but I just wanted to change this to ID so we can access the inner or the value rather. So we can access the value.
Wait, sorry. What if we use query selector input? Is it not going to work?
It is going to pick just one of them, and we need to pick all of them individually.
Oh, okay. Since I was thinking, since input is for all, that's why.
You know, okay, we can try it out. So it's code, so we can always try it out. So let's say in my JavaScript code here, I say dot query selector, and I pass in input. Then I save this input to a constant called input. So if I say a console.log input, and I go back and I refresh this, so you can see that it is getting just the first one, and I need to get everything.
Okay, yes, it's true.
Yeah, sure you get. So that's why I need to use dot get element by ID and passing the ID for each input. So I would say name, then email, then I can say height. So here I would say height, and here I can say email. Now let's say I do console.log name, or I need to say input name, so it doesn't give me conflict with my object variables, my object properties. So we are able to differentiate between both of them. So I can just log input name here. So let's refresh this. Um, so we can see here that it is returning my input for name. So if I say input email, it would return the input for email. And if I say input height, it would return the input for input height.